play with friends at home mostly. I'm not like a lot into this webcam old school so far because like I really like it to have the real cards in my hands and you know it's like that feeling of collecting and playing with the nice cards basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's not much that's better than sitting with the cards in your hand. I agree.
Yeah, I gave it a try, but it like wasn't my thing really, to be honest, because like it feels it's like the same for me as playing with proxies. I don't like it basically. Like I'm one of these guys like I would never play a card I don't own myself because like it's not the same feeling. I never went with let's say a power piece proxied or so to a tournament not because like I'm fine with people doing that if they enjoy it, but I think especially for old school it's true that it's more about the whole package, like collecting the cards, playing with the nice old cards, meeting other people, trading. It's not so much about spiking or like playing always the best possible list to win a tournament to get into the meta game. It's more about like playing what you have, enjoying, like it's a whole package for me. So
Yeah.
I mean, like people think different about this topic, but like I'm more towards those who play with what they own, basically.
Yeah. Uh, we, yeah, you know, Simon and I, we also like to go to tournaments and stuff like that. But in the Corona times where we weren't able to go to any tournaments, it's actually been fun
Of course, like I mean
to play
that's a
on
big.
the webcam. And we actually tried Singleton uh, this month, and it was like and it was very very fun to try and build new decks and stuff like that, and acquiring new cards that you never
Of
thought you would
course,
play. Yeah.
I mean
So
that's a total different thing. I mean during
yeah.
Corona where everything is canceled, like for me it was pretty hard to accept. Like of course every Magic event is canceled now for 2020. Also the WinCon, which is makes me pretty sad. But of course, like it's understandable. They want to avoid any risk. Like I'm
Yeah.
totally fine with that. Just I've been used like all the years to at least 3 or 4 times see all the people on big events like the Fishliver Cup, which is the WinCon now, or the NoobCon, or like I really miss those events. Like
Yeah.
as something traditional I've been to every year, or let's say the
Yeah.
last 3 or 4 years at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. The same for Simon and I. Our tournament favorite tournament is the Nebraskas War, and yeah, very very bummed that it's not gonna happen to anything to this year. Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope for 2000 like 21 that everything will be better and like it
Yeah.
will be back to normal soon with the events because like it's not I only work with the cards. Like I work with the cards since like not too long now because I turned the hobby into a job basically, but it's more about like meeting the people, playing. Like in the past I'm you probably know in the past I spiked a lot more at tournaments because like I really wanted to win something big once in my life when playing old school. But now I'm way more relaxed. Like after NoobCon 218, I had a different approach. I tried to constantly build new decks, homebrews, to test those, to of course also compete with these, but it's not the same as before. Like before, I was pretty spiky, I have to confess.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least for the NoobCon or Fishliver Cup, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember when I saw you at the first NewCon, where you just missed top 8, right?
Gosh, don't remind me. Like it was my first NoobCon. It was a blast, and funnily, like the first time I've been there, when we knew no one, we had like in advance. We had like I think it was a Thursday evening. We've been to the Rotary Pub. Patrick and I, and like there were and Mark, Patrick, and I, we have been there, and I basically had the Lions deck I really played 2018 in my bag with me, and I play tested it for fun, because like already 2016 I played the Lions deck, which was a homebrew basically, but just with friends. Like it was the deck I tried with friends. I had fun with that deck, but I never thought it would be actually good. So I tried to play the deck because I thought it was the most competitive one, and I wanted to win something, of course, like in the beginning. So yeah, I played 2016 and 17. I played with the deck, and I had the 9th place actually with opponent score. My friend Patrick had the same score, but he ranked 7th, so he could play the top 8, and lost eventually against Ole Rode.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, it was a blast. Like the first year after the NoobCon, I thought like, wow, where have I just been? Like, I want to definitely go there again. It was such a big experience.
It's something really special. For the guys who've been there, it's like a second home. And for the guys that haven't been there and seen it, it's amazing. And I really do hope that the WinCon can recreate this. But then I guess if we are like 200 or 300 people, all for the purpose of playing Old School from the whole world, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, it will be something different for sure, but it can be great if they do it right. Because I think the special thing about the NoobCon was also that it was, I don't know how it was in the Danish community, but in Germany it was pretty hard to get a spot. And there was a lot of like, sometimes there were some bad vibes, like how to get the spot, how to win it. Like it was like a real tough thing to even get into this. And then like if you feel you're there, you reached that point where you can participate in the con, then the feeling, maybe I win something or I go to top 8, that's a crazy feeling.
Yeah.
So of course that I was a bit sad to have missed it like for the first year, but I mean I tried it again, let's say it like that. So
yeah,
I had another chance for it.
Yeah, and I went to the top 8 the same year as you also. So
yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
I remember.
But I couldn't do anything. So and now of course I played the deck, which most of the Danish players at least know that I play a lot of.
Yeah, I mean it's a great one. Probably it's still the best, even after all restrictions, unrestrictions. Like I can hardly imagine a deck which is better on the long run, like which has less variance, and that's why I played it also like for 2 years in a row at almost every tournament, and score was okay. It was not bad. I got a couple of top 8s and whatever. But like 2018, basically I had a different approach. I told myself like, okay, this year you really play what you want, what you enjoy the most. So why not playing your Lions deck? Like I've hardly seen that before, in that combination of like Savannah Lions counter spells with the city in a bottle in the sideboard with the transformational thing, like that you put out the 4 surrenders, put in the city in a bottles. Like that was a pretty homebrew during that time. Although, of course, there were versions with white, blue, green, for example. But like none of those versions used the real counter shell with the counter spells plus power sync with the 7 counters. I think like it was a different approach because it's transformational, basically. That was my main thought, that I wanted to play a deck which can play super aggressive against more controlish decks. And on the other hand, you can play super controlish against more aggressive decks. And I tried to search something exactly in the middle to be flexible to adapt to every situation.
Yeah, because I still remember what was it? Was it Germ Attack, where they play more like the Sarah Angels, and they actually don't go the full package of Swords to Plowshares, where you actually go full Monty 4 off, and I really like that one. So.
Yeah. I mean, the problem I had with the deck personally is that you cannot play aggressively if you want to. You cannot really force your opponent into your game plan. Which if you play the deck, you have like a very good match against many aggressive decks. But on the other hand, in the mirror, it's often like a coin flip,
Yeah.
decided by who has like the certain cards like library, mind twist, whatever first, you know. Who
Yeah.
resolves one of those restricted cards first? If both players are on the same level of skill, let's say, then mostly these cards decide, these 3 or 4 cards maybe, and you cannot really like push it. Whereas with the Lions deck, I felt more in charge. There were more spots where I could really outplay my opponents. At least it felt like that. I would say it's a very, very difficult deck to play. I heard of many people. Many people were asking, like Italian guys, Swedish guys, like, I tested your deck and I didn't win a single game against certain matches. Like, it didn't feel very strong, to be honest. Like, I had many people asking me that, and in fact, it's a deck where when you play it and you do one mistake, you lose the game. Like,
Yeah.
basically, it can be, you have a lot of very, very tough decisions. I would say it's much harder to play well than the deck, probably, at least from my personal experience. But it can be very rewarding on the other hand as well.
Yeah. So, I think it's a very, very nice thing, at least. So, when I've seen the deck. Did you have any, like, you brewed on this since like 2016 and been like making it better and better, you said? And then when I see the deck, because I of course looked it up online, I see the beautiful altars and stuff, and I really like it, and everything black bordered. So in that
Yeah,
sense,
like I love alpha beta. Like, I have to say like that I own these cards since quite a while. Like, many people think I spent a fortune on these cards, but in fact I bought my first beta alpha cards back then. Like, when I played vintage, I upgraded my like German limited duels very early to beta. When I mean, we were talking about times where I paid like 200 euros for an Alpha Underground Sea or 120 euros for a volcanic island. I mean, these were beta, of course. These were total different times. Like, you could buy the cards. And still during these times, there were not a lot of people buying into beta because it already was like a pimp thing, which was very expensive. Like, people didn't see why they should spend like 200 euros for UC when they can have one for whatever, 50 euros or 40, you know.
yeah,
So it was a total different thing. I got my whole collection over time. I kept it for 20 years. I didn't ever sell anything I played. And so basically all the cards, or most of the cards, were already there when I started with Old School.
yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that's the problem sometimes with getting new players into the format. They have to spend a lot of money to get the version that they want, because it's something that you have to save up for to get a complete beta deck. Or
Yeah, that's true. I mean, nowadays it's an incredible difficult task, you know. But I think on the other hand, it feels like a project. Like, the nice thing about the old school decks or pimping your old school deck is that you almost never reach the point where you cannot enhance it anymore, although you want, you know. It's like you can, and the good thing is the cards don't lose any value. Like, unless with other hobbies where you spend money and it's gone, you basically buy cards, and you know, like nowadays where you don't get anything on when you put it on your bank account, it doesn't give you any advantage, you know. So you can invest into cards, and most of the time you get at least back what you paid, you know.
Yeah,
yeah,
That's a very good thing, because you have a hobby, you enjoy it, you play, you collect, and at the same time it's a pretty good investment, or at least you don't lose anything. That's what I like so much about Magic the Gathering.
yeah.
yeah.
That's also what we tell our girlfriends.
Sometimes, Alban, I also have a question for you about getting your cards altered. When you started altering cards, were you already, your mindset was already back then that I'm never going to sell these cards, these are for me, and I would like to alter them? Or did the price, did you ever think, okay, maybe it's a stupid idea, because if I want to sell it, maybe it maybe would be tougher to sell it, because those people who like altars would much more prefer to get their own altar instead of buying some altar that somebody else commissioned.
I think like it's you have to make a difference between different like cards you could alter. Like back then when I altered my cards, like it was a time where the Underground Sea Beta cost like something like $150, you know, which means like you didn't think of, okay, the cards are so valuable, maybe I destroy part of their value when I get them altered. Moreover, artists like Rob Alexander, they were at the event the first time and everyone thought like, okay, he will never be back again, like for 2 or 3 years, you know. Today it's a very different thing where many artists are really like farming events to because they realize it's actually a very good job, you know. And for example, like regarding Old School, I really like, I took what I already had for vintage. I personally, for example, I like alterations on restricted cards, but I'm like not so much into these simple black pen alterations anymore, which means I don't really like, for example, when a Time Twister is signed by Tedin in black and has a little black alteration, nothing special, or the Garfield alterations. Like, I don't like that. Back then I liked it, but nowadays I just like these really nice extreme alterations with different colors and acrylics and whatever. Basically, like I had my whole set of Moxon, I traded it away a couple, like when was it, like maybe 1.5 years ago. That was the hardest thing for me, because really those Moxon I wanted to keep forever. But I had like such a good deal during that time, because I'm also a bit into Alpha 40, or I have been at least. And basically I was able to trade away my altered Moxons, which were mostly beta, for a set of Alpha Moxon. So I could use the whole Alpha Moxon for Alpha 40 as well. And it was still a pretty hard decision, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I really, this is something unique. Like the altars are really, something you won't get back easily. Like no matter how much you pay, basically.
Yeah.
But I still have like as a conclusion for the altars, I still have like a super nice Jafmon Swill from Ron Spencer, and 4 extreme altered Force of Wills from Tyrell's Nielsen, and those are some of my favorite pieces. I think I don't know if I think the 4. Oh, I have the Force with me here. I don't know if you know this card, but this is like was a personal commission. You don't see it very well right now. But this was like a character from the fighting game Tekken, and I also have the Spawn, the Darth Vader, and a Wolverine from Therese Nielsen.
Yeah.
And these are very unique because she doesn't sell those anymore, I think, on eBay. These were like 8 years ago she did it, or 10 years ago, I can't remember. But these are very special to me. Even if I don't play any new stuff like Legacy or so, I still keep them. I won't give it away.
And with the latest banning of her from the Wizards of the Coast, I think they'll skyrocket in price even more. So I guess.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty controversial topic.
Yeah.
I think like it doesn't like. Of course, she has her opinions. Like people, I understand why Wizards of the Coast did this thing, maybe, or why they also chose to now with all these like discussions also in the US, why they chose to do so with the cards like Crusade. Many people might think it's an overreaction, but still I see it differently with the card, because the art is eternal. Like the art of Force of Will is just great. The alterations are great. Like it doesn't lower the card's value, like if the artist has a certain opinion to different topics, you know.
Yeah.
I see it as a piece of magic which is really it shifted everything. It's like one of the most classic pieces, almost of one of the most well-known cards, basically. Like it's an archetype, you know, like Force of Will is for me one of the most Magic defining cards ever.
Yeah. At least as a vintage player, it's like a must-have card, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, of course. And that's, I mean, vintage for now it's kind of dead. But I thought, like, if I ever get back into vintage, I can't remember ever playing a vintage deck without 4 forces, to be honest, like, or without blue. Like, I have to confess, I'm a classical blue player. I've always been. I can't remember ever playing a deck without blue at any tournament. So. Yeah, blue is was always a staple in all my decks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
normally we do this at the end of the interview, but now we're on the topic. What's actually your favorite card and why?
In Old School or in general?
Yeah, just in general, but in Old School it would be fine because
I would say, probably the answer is the same, because my favorite card in Magic always has been the Balance, Mark Poole's Balance, because like I like the whole package. I like the artwork. It's very nice. Like the whole effect is so unique and so flexible. Like this is a card I always wanted to play in Vintage. But in Vintage, it was pretty hard. I had it in a sideboard of an Oath of Druids deck, I remember, where it was like I played a big tournament in France and it was actually pretty good in my sideboard. But when playing Old School, like I thought like, wow, now finally I'm able to play my favorite Magic card, and it's actually pretty good because you can use it in so many different spots. You can use it as a Mind Twist. You can use it as like to destroy 4 lands. Like I remember games in tournaments where I intentionally wouldn't drop my lands for 2 or 3 turns in a row, pretending or that I'm mana screwed, just to force my opponent to have a land drop every turn and put as much of his hand as possible. And then I would play something like White Mox, Blue Mox, Soul Ring, Balance. I shred all his lands, and then I play something like an Ancestral. I mean, that of course was like not always like that, but I use the Balance in so many different spots.
Yeah.
That like it's just so flexible. The effect is so unique, and it's so much fun. You can basically also chop an opponent off his Library of Alexandria easily, and it's I would say it's by far my favorite Magic card.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. And good explanation why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also saw you play the Alpha 40, the Wizards tournament. The first time I played you was it 13 Lightning Bolt deck or something like this?
I mean, I heard of it. Like the story was when I heard of the Alpha 40, Mitja and we didn't have a deck. So we talked to Magnus and got to know there would be this Alpha 40 tournament, like it was the second Wizards tournament, one day before the NoobCon. And you can just enter if you have a valid deck with you to actually play, which means like they didn't want any people to just be there to watch, you know?
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, we cannot miss this. Come on, we are there at Gothenburg anyway, so we won't miss this chance. So we constructed something. Mitja played a mono black, and I had to play whatever I had, and I had to play lightning bolts and counter magic. These were the only cards, and since you cannot play volcanic islands anyways, it was even easier to build a deck. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. After that, I built a blue-white deck. I just played that in Italy, which was really retarded with multiple power pieces, like whatever, 3 time walks and 4 ancestrals or whatever. It was super, super stupid.
Yeah.
And you basically couldn't. It wasn't as good as Menandion's deck because like it was still my personal pool. Like these were not cards for trading, you know. But yeah, in fact, right now I enjoy the Alpha 40 with the league rules. I played it just once or twice, but Mitja is pretty much into it with the league rules of Northern Paladins. And Mitja built like 2 or 3 decks, so he told me he's enjoying it a lot. So I thought, come on, like I have most of my old school cards, or restricted cards are alpha anyway, so I would give it a try, build a deck with these Northern Paladin rules, and it's actually interesting. It's fun, you know. I don't know whether you tried it, but it's not a bad thing.
No, I like it that they control a little more what you can play, so that it's not like insane decks, but it's more balanced. Having also played the Wizard tournament, I thought, okay, yeah, I don't want to have like the Wild West. Yeah. So
but it's okay that they have both the classical Alpha 40 and the new one with the league rules for the same time, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. So, and I thought, yeah, that was interesting. Now talking about Mitja, I found out you did a new project. I've been watching on Facebook, the Sky Guild.
Yeah, the Sky Guild. Like, basically, we thought about, like, as everyone else, we had time during the virus. You know, we sat home, we didn't travel to events, and we thought, okay, maybe there is something we would do, since we're traveling to different countries as players, but also as traders. Like, is there something we could do for the community to enhance the whole old school experience somehow? So we had a brainstorming together, and we thought, okay, I mean, since quite a while, the official old school site doesn't display deck lists anymore under decks to beat. So if you want to find, like, of course, I know there are some people who say it should be like that. People should brew their own lists. But in fact, I would say still 70-80% of old school players are net decking anyways, no matter how hard it is to find. So in the end, we found out, or at least we thought, there is no central source to have all these deck lists, which are scattered like in different blog posts or in Facebook groups and several things. And many people were asking us for deck lists. Like, we realized this at all the tournaments where we have been, that many people asked me for a list, how I would do this, how I would do that. For Mitja, it was the same with his lands deck. He created also, it's one of his homebrews. So we thought it could be great to have a site where you can actually have the whole lists with pictures, but also with the text, because sometimes it's pretty hard to identify certain cards. I mean, probably everyone knows these pictures taken where you cannot identify like 5 of the cards at least. If they're overlaying or there's just like
glare and stuff, yeah.
You know, so we thought we would gather, like, we spent some time to browse the forums, the blog posts, whatever, for lists, and would type the lists like into a worksheet or something. And we thought we would start with an archive of decks, and our idea is to upgrade this list. We started with, let's say, 40 lists, and every week we will we also have additional lists, and we will upload more and more lists every week to the site. And moreover, we have like another image folder where we upload community decks. You can send us decks there. Basically, you find our site, you can just type Sky Guild on Facebook under the search function, and then you find it.
Yeah.
Basically, for now, you find deck lists there. We will spend more time in the future, though, to like have everything more in order. Let's say that you have different folders for blue-red decks or blue-white decks or the deck, so it's easier to browse. We have many ideas basically for the site. We just like started with it, so there's a lot to upgrade. We're always happy when people send us like new ideas or criticize something in a positive way, which means like they say, oh, maybe you could change that, or you can change that. I have an idea, maybe that's a good one. You know, we're always open for that. And yeah, we're trying to improve with a goal to have a site where old school people from all over the world can connect and write to each other. They can use it as a forum to discuss about different decks or new ideas. And yeah, basically we have a lot of stuff in our minds, how to improve the site, how to add new features. And so far the like feedback is pretty good. Like, we got quite a bit of followers, and yeah, we are happy to improve it basically in the future.
Yeah, that sounds nice. Yeah, because for me it's also like sometimes you hear some whispering in the corners. Oh, have you seen his deck? It's crazy. Oh yeah, but where did you find it? Oh, it was in a blog post. I saw it there, and maybe okay, I can't find it, or it was in the comments of that site that is very like mysterious and well hidden. But now a place that really has everything. Yeah, that would be awesome. So
Yeah, exactly. And we talked a lot about it. Like, first we thought we would add any deck list basically, but then we decided that actually most of the players we met, they're looking more for, let's say, deck lists which actually work, which are kind of competitive. So we
yeah,
chose to kind of sort all the lists we found. Mm, like we would focus more on decks we could or we would actually play on tournaments, you know,
yeah,
which are built competitively. Also, if it's like, let's say, a tier 2 or tier 3 deck, still we would check if it's built in the best possible way and add that list to our binder, to our folder, you know, of pictures. So what we might do in the future as well is for the community is like that people who want can send us decks. Let's say they send us their deck list, and we would feature that deck list for a week and say what we would change in our opinion and why. So to make people understand better what it means to build a deck well, or why you choose different cards over others. Because in my opinions, there are a lot of good players in Old School, but surprisingly, there are not so many players who really built their deck very well.
yeah,
Which, because the deck tuning and the deck building itself sometimes is at least as important as playing well, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
most, from my personal experience, most people are underestimating what it means to really build a deck very well, like tuned for the meta game, for example.
Yeah, and also I think something that often goes wrong, Simon and I've talked about it a lot. Simon and I've been playing the same deck for ever, but we've transformed it over the years. I remember the first time I met you in a tournament, I played the 4 Sarah Angels and 4 Lightning Bolts. Um, I don't play the Sarah Angels anymore, and I play 3 Lightning Bolts now. But that's one thing when you have a deck, and if you see the best version of the deck. And I think you made a good example by saying that even though people play your deck, they say they don't get the same experience with it that you have. And
Yeah,
I think that,
exactly.
and I think that one of the reasons is sometimes when people try to sideboard, it's not the problem with the cards that you put in the deck from your sideboard. It's often the problem is what cards do you take out? Because
Exactly. Yeah.
when you take cards out, you change the synergy of your deck, and sometimes the sideboard cards that you sideboard in are not enough because your deck doesn't work as smoothly as it could be if you sideboarded
Yeah,
the right
exactly.
cards
That's
out.
very true.
Yeah, and I think that's often something that goes wrong when people net deck because they don't know how it works when you have to sideboard against different decks.
With the Lions deck, for example, it's really crucial. You have to consider, I played this deck for, let's say, 3.5 years before attending with it the first time at a tournament, you know. So I knew basically every spot where, let's say, I don't want to over focus on the city in a bottle, but I think the city in a bottle was one of the most unconventional sideboard cards in a deck where you play 4 Serendips main deck during that time. But I knew exactly for the city in a bottle when to put it and in which situations it's really good, you know. And this experience I had of 3.5 years, that like at some point you do the whole sideboarding pretty automatical. Like for example, my match against Blue Red was insanely good. That's why during the finals of 2018, although I was, to be honest, I was pretty nervous playing against Ole, who is one of the best players probably I've met so far. I still knew, okay, my deck is probably in favor on paper, you know? So if I don't do any serious mistakes, I have a good chance of winning this, because before in the tournament, I had a score of like maybe seven wins, 2 losses or so against blue-red. So I knew the match is pretty good with the City in the Bottles plus Circle Red. Those are the 2 key cards against any blue-red deck, basically. And yeah, like you have to know it. You have to test it a lot. And in the beginning, I played it with blue-white only, and the then including the little black splash for Mind Twist and Demonic, and that basically made a big difference, really huge difference.
Yeah. But I think it's a good point with the City in a Bottle, because Simon and I also play City in a Bottle, but we actually sideboarded in against when we played it against the deck, because as you said, Library of Alexandria is just so powerful in that matchup, and if your opponent gets it, you have another out. It's like a land destruction, because if you both have it, okay, then it just equalize each other out. But if your opponent somehow gets rid of yours, you still have the answer. You can always choose not to play it, and you can choose to play it if you're behind. So that's one of the strategies that we found out that was pretty good in the
Of
mirror
course.
match.
You need at least, because like Strip Mine and Chaos Orb are just not enough outs to compensate like for Library on your opponent's first turn. The card is just too good. I mean, with the Lions deck, you have at least another strategy of winning against Library starts. When you play first round Lions, second round Landmarks, Serendip Ifrit, and then have counter magic in your hand, then you can put so much pressure on your opponent that you even win against the Library start kind of easily. But if you have played the deck, then you're totally vulnerable, because you don't have this aggressive strategy, and you mainly rely on your 2 or 3 silver bullets to somehow remove it early. Because in fact, when you play a deck mirror and he drew 3 cards, then you lost the game already, in my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's awesome that you made this Sky Guild, and just to give you some feedback, I think when you talk about optimizing people's decks and stuff like that, also maybe talk about how to optimize sideboarding.
Yeah,
sure. Because sometimes when the cards there, I've seen people like having a very good sideboard against me and don't sideboard it in, because the match is over, both players show each other their sideboarding and say, why didn't you sideboard that in? And they sometimes they can't explain it, and sometimes they've sideboarded something out that is very, very tough for me to handle, and they can't explain why, the reasoning for taking it out.
Yeah. You know, I think, in my opinion, one of the biggest mistakes players are doing when playtesting is that they, or at least from what I have seen, many people test, let's say, when they have 2 hours, they would test something like 100 minutes with just game 1, and then maybe 20 minutes for the sideboarding, you know? And if you think more carefully about it, like 2 of 3 games are with a sideboard, which means like game 1 is basically the least important game of all, you know? So most people are just playing game 1 over and over and over again, like taking turns, and and then they don't know the crucial sideboard spots. Whereas like if you test differently, for example, I tested like most time in advance to the NoobCon, I tested with my friend Patrick from Germany also. He's a very good player. He had good scores, and we were testing very competitively in a like a tournament environment against each other with different competitive decks. And it was very important for us to always at least having 50% of all games with sideboard, because those games matter a lot more in tournaments. You can turn a whole match around when you lose the first round and then win the second and third. Like so many games I lost the first round and then won through sideboarding or outplaying the opponent. And I realized there are so many people who just don't know how to play game 2 or 3 very well. Although they're they have a very good list and they are very good on turn 1, for example.
Yeah, it's
Or game 1.
yeah, and also like when we saw we streamed a match here the other day where the player's not on the play and he keeps in his black vices, even though the opponent more or less can like play 3 or 4 cards in the first turn and still have black vices in the deck. It's yeah, you have to know what you're doing, and I think game guide, play guide to how to play this type of deck, that would be awesome. So you guys have to do articles on that also.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we want to really we have a lot of features. Maybe I can do a little spoiler already. Like I had an idea of, because I thought many people like also videos of matches, like for example, finals of Fishliver, finals of NoobCon, whatever. And so we would, on top of these deck lists, we want to have a part on the side where we gather all these video links of important matches, NoobCon top 8, Fishliver top 8, all the matches which really matter, people would want to see. So people have a unique source to find all these deck pictures and also video links to games to maybe learn something, how to improve, or that's we have a lot of ideas. This is maybe one of the next things we want to do, and therefore we try to connect also with streams like yours, which where you interview different people. We want to basically really include many different peoples, many different point of views, many different offers, so everyone can choose what he enjoys the most.
Yeah. I think that sounds good.
Very cool. Yeah.
So is there anybody in the chat that has any questions for Alban? Because a NoobCon winner, like a world champion in Old School, is like awesome. And you also won the Fishliver, or what was it?
I was second. I was finalist.
You were second. Okay, yeah.
In
But
advance,
still,
it was when I played the Lions deck the first time at Fishliver Cup ever.
Yeah.
In a bigger tournament, and I became second. Then I played it at Nebraskas War. I was also second. I lost due to a stupid mistake. I tapped out with a counter spell and then received a mind twist. That was because I was tired, and that was a pretty bad play.
Yeah.
So I was 2 times finalist in bigger tournaments, and when I was in the finals at the NoobCon, I thought okay, if I lose now again during the finals, I will have nightmares for the next month. So this time, where it's the most important thing, that has to be right.
Yeah. I agree. Then we have a question from Henning. He was also down playing the Fishliver. What's in your Alpha 40 deck right now?
The league rules or the original? Okay, maybe I can answer both questions.
You can take both.
In my league rules deck, I play a 3-color deck with blue, white, red, with many control-ish cards, like 3 Swords to Plowshares, 3 Lightning Bolts, 2 Fireballs, Disenchants, Balance, Ancestral Recall, Blue Mox, and Counter Magic, winning with Burn and 2 Air Elementals. Because I chose them over the Serra Angel because my main color is blue. So I have Air Element and Burn, like Fireball and Lightning Bolt is winning option, of Psionic Blast. And in my Alpha 40 with the original rules, I had 2 decks. Like the deck I play now is still a blue-red one, like a counter burn with each restricted card just once though.
Yeah.
The deck I played in the past, it was incredibly stupid. It was a deck with, let's say, 12 artifacts with multiple Moxen, like 2 or 3 Mox Zephyrs, 2 or 3 Mox Pearls, 2 or 3 Soul Rings, and then 4 or 5 Balances to shred the opponent's lands away. And then something like Black Vice, Time Twister, Ancestral Recall, so the opponent dies in 1 turn. It was a bit a mixture of a balance artifact deck and the deck which won the second Wizards tournament, like a weaker version, let's say, of the Blue Vice deck.
Yeah.
With different approaches as well. But this one is like fun for a couple of times, just for the player, of course, not the opponent.
Yeah.
It's too boring on the long run. Like if you won like five games in a row and the opponent has no chance at all, it at some point it stops like being that fun, you know.
Yeah.
So for myself, for Classic Alpha 40, I have the rule: I won't play any power piece more than once. Everything else is okay, but each power piece just once. Then it's much more fun, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree, because like we saw the Steven Menendian deck, he wasn't even really proud winning, you know. He was more like he was happy to win, of course, but it was more like an excuse. Yeah, I had the possibility to play this deck. Of course, I had to do it, but yeah. So.
I mean, like to be honest, like if you have the chance playing a deck like that one once in your life, I think many people would do it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you cannot basically lose, but it just feels like so powerful playing this kind of stuff. You know, it's just crazy. I mean, I don't know if I did it, because I think Alpha 40 is even more about the joy of playing your own cards. You really own yourself.
Yeah.
You know? This is more like a project where you really know, if I buy this new card or trade it, and I have this big trade for, let's say, a power piece, my biggest trade, then I know this card actually upgrades my deck, and there is no limit. I can upgrade my deck like for 10 years and it won't be completed. This is like what Alpha 40 is more about. Alpha 40 is about collecting than really playing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. That's also the thing I have with Old School. I like having the cards. I like having them blackboarded. I like having them altered, and it's always this, you know, insatiable hunger for better versions of your card. Yeah. I like that. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally understandable. That's why I also tried to upgrade beta cards to alpha cards. I had a couple of big trades going on, and it's even the good thing about the collecting thing, is that you even if you have a lot of money, you cannot easily buy everything immediately. Like sometimes you have to wait for the right card in the right condition, or you need a specific altar, or you need a specific whatever BGS. Like it's not that you find it immediately, like unless you're maybe overpaying extremely.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah,
I think Magic is always a bit of both, at least for Old School and Alpha 40. It's playing semi-competitive or competitive if you want to, but also it's about collecting.
Yeah. I know, at least for myself, the collecting is a big part of it, but playing also has a big part. I know I'm not a world champion, but I like to play. I like to play competitive, but I'm not going to be an asshole about it, you know? So,
yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's totally fine. Like the point is, like, Old School combines many kind of people. Like there are people who were, like, let's say top 8 at whatever Pro Tour or GPs, like competitive legacy players, modern players, and they gave Old School a try. But on the other hand, you have these people who, like, after the second round, they fall down like off their chair, totally drunk. And like I've seen everything. Like I've been to the NoobCon, and like the guy two seats behind me, he like just fell down off his chair with his whole deck like on the floor and everything. Like I've seen everything at the NoobCon, and it's so much fun because you have so many different people like together at the same place.
Yeah. And I think also for many, it's the whole, like they say in the Lord of the Rings, it's maybe not the end goal, but the journey there is also like an interesting thing, because you know you'll be going there, you won your spot, and then you have to go to this place, you'll talk to people, you'll get decks, and you'll test, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that, Simon, because when we go to tournaments, we always drive. So when we go to Nebraskas War, the journey is 18 hours.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, I could
Yeah,
never understand it. I'm really like, I'm totally like, after 4 or 5 hours of driving, like I think like, okay, I need a break. Like, cannot do this, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
So 18 hours is just crazy. When you told me the first time, like you were driving to, was it Nebraskas War? I think so. I really thought you're fooling me. Like it's a joke. Like I didn't think it was real. You know,
yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
yeah,
That's really you have nerves of steel, basically. Driving the whole distance from Denmark. That's really crazy.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But it's part of the experience now.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now we
Of course,
wouldn't. Yeah.
here from Germany, since although Wizards or you don't have a lot of tournaments due to the gambling laws here in Germany, like, but
Yeah.
we're pretty much in the middle, so we can drive to whatever Czech Republic, Italy, France, like we can drive within 4 or 5 hours maybe to almost all the countries where you have the tournament. So that's kind of comfortable in some way to be able to arrive to many places easily.
Yeah. Yeah. There we are a little bit more unlucky, but then we have the best trips ever, so it's
yeah,
okay.
we do.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Then it's been almost an hour, and I don't really have any more questions for you. And we actually did the favorite card already, so we also checked that off our list. Do you have anything you want to say, Alban?
Oh, like, thank you for this opportunity
Oh
here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wasn't fishing for compliments, but I take
No,
them
no,
anyway.
I like this whole thing, and yeah, we would also like, as I told you already, to feature this stream here, if it's okay for you on
Yeah, yeah,
our
yeah,
side.
yeah, yeah. No problem.
So people who don't know yet about this have the chance to tune in now and then
Yeah,
and to get to know different players and different strategies, whatever.
yeah,
yeah. And I would say Simon and I, we do this in the local Doom tournament also, where we stream matches, and yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Simon can talk more about it, but there are also many. I think we all had to have like three finals.
yeah. We have three finals of our
On
old
video.
school
Yeah,
tournament
yeah,
because we have a New England style Danish tournament where we also play with a very nice reprint policy, which means it's very good decks we play based on the Swedish banned and restricted list. We have Singleton, and now we're streaming the Summer Derby, the matches that are Danish. So we actually have a lot of content. So,
Great, sounds good.
yeah.
yeah.
So to all the people watching this who don't know about your stream yet, like it's definitely something you should try out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah.
So thank you then,
Yeah. Thank you very much for
and
participating.
hope to see you soon again on tournaments.
Yeah.
Live
Yeah.
in person.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Whenever
Yeah.
we can walk out the door again, then we'll be at tournaments.
Be
That's for
there.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So have a nice evening
Yeah.
Yeah.
and see you
Same
soon.
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Yes. So that was nice, and I will just finish off. There wasn't any more questions. Only the they don't agree with the Black Vice in the ATOC deck. I'll take that back then. Sorry for that, Juice and Nikolai. But I still think you don't play it on the when you actually start the game, you play it, but when you are on the draw, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, but I think, Simon, that's the same again when people don't agree with us playing 64 cards. If you win, you're right.
Yeah. That's the way it is. And he actually won the game on those.
Yeah, so
So
Nikolai, and I also think we said that in the stream that
Yeah,
you made
that-
the right call because you won. So
yeah. That was a very good win on those Black
Yeah.
Vices. So
yeah, and also again that just how do you say, prove the point that sideboarding is very very hard to do right,
yeah.
because sometimes somebody sees something that somebody else doesn't, and
Yeah.
yeah, Nikolai, he got it right.
Yeah. And I will just say this so that we're all clear on this. I am not a world champion. I don't know any decks. Okay, I know some decks, but yeah. But I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
And I hope you like it, guys. And girls. But yeah, I'll say thank you for now. And yeah, I would like to have a beer with you, Nikolai. That would be awesome. I will be at the DOS tournament. That will be my next tournament where we actually do something. We'll also be live streaming from there. That will be awesome. And I guess I will have a beer that day. So please come to the DOS tournament and have a beer.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.